Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to Her Blueprints podcast, where we share stories from women engineering tomorrow. And I've got another guest here with me today. And while people keep saying, oh, you need to get this, you need to get this person on your podcast, you need to get this person on your podcast, I'm like, well, I want to start with all the amazing women that I know and then kind of work my way up. And I'm so privileged to have Meg here with me today because I work with her too, and you guys can see how awesome the people that I work with are. And Meg, thank you so much for honoring the invite.
Thanks for the invite, Mercy. It's great to be here.
Thank you. I like to let people introduce themselves, so we can start with you telling me about who you are, what you do, pretty much what you've been up to as well.
Yeah, so my name is Meggan Brown, civil and environmental engineer, with also a strong interest in like zoology and biology and science, more of a hobby than a job or anything. And I just find engineering really interesting, and it's a path that I actually didn't think I was going to take when I was a kid. I end up here and I'm loving it, and I'm loving the people I work with. I think that's the teamwork that's involved is what I really enjoy, and working with people to figure out a solution to a problem.
Yeah. You mentioned biology and zoology, which is an interesting intersection. It kind of makes sense because you're a civil and environmental engineer. And I'm curious how or the things that drew you to the field in the first place, or like where you think your kind of engineering journey is, kind of like that genesis of what was exciting about it, what was it about these things that made you curious and want to pursue an entire career?
It's actually interesting and kind of funny. Like, I was in the end of high school and I knew I wanted to do something to do with the environment and bettering it and improving it. And my sister did law and environmental management through uni. And so I was like, I'll do environmental management. That sounds really interesting. But she was like, don't do environmental management, do environmental engineering. You get paid more, you do more interesting work, and you're good at maths, so you love it. And I was just kind of like, okay. She's the one who put me on the path towards engineering. All I knew about it before then was like electrical and mechanical engineering, and I was like, ugh, that sounds awful. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, it just sounds like all this physics and things that I wasn't interested in. So that was my idea of physics growing up. It's just sort of electricity and like X-rays, MRI, like astrophysics, and I was like, ugh, awful, honestly. So I ended up choosing civil environmental engineering as I think it was my top two options in the like university applications at the end of high school. So I think we call it QTAC. And because I knew I didn't want to do straight engineering, so I love watching David Attenborough documentaries growing up, and I thought I also want to do degree in zoology because it just sounded super interesting, and also to help break up, I guess, the intensity of engineering. So I ended up doing that through uni. And the first year was really interesting in that I had no idea really what to expect. And then the more I got to know about the possibilities that I could do and the things that I could work on, the more interested I got. Except for structural engineering, that was always a bit of an iffy one, mostly because it was around steel and concrete, and I was a bit like, a bit boring, like, want to do more interesting environmentally focused areas. And also I remember in my first year we did this project for like a water treatment tank, and it was a sort of partnered project with Engineers Without Borders, and the winning design I think would actually be implemented for the objective area, which was a remote community in West Cameroon. And it was to basically help them treat water so they could have safe water to either drink if that was your aim, or to use for showers and grey water purposes. And I just thought I just didn't think that was the kind of stuff that engineers did. And I was like, wow, you can actually really make a difference. And whether it be for people, the environment, or just society in general, you can make all those differences through engineering. Yeah, and that sort of kicked off my interest. In particular, I'd say with environmental and civil engineering. And then the zoology was just, more of a hobby, passion sort of thing. And I still love watching animal documentaries to this day and learning more about nature and just, I guess, the amazingness of evolution adaptations. And I think it helps with the environmental side as well, because I can kind of understand maybe how things interact with the environment on a different level, or maybe a different perspective than some other people.
Yeah. You mentioned documentaries that you used to watch by someone. I don't remember the name.
David Attenborough.
Yeah, tell me a bit about those. What are they about?
It can be about, so a lot of his big ones are Ocean 2, Blue Planet. He's also done a series, I think, of the 7 Natural Wonders, I think possibly. I don't know, he's been doing documentaries for years, decades. And I think it was Animal Planet, the channel that I sort of watched as a kid. And I think he's just a bit of an icon, a role model. In terms of also conservation, so he's big on highlighting, I guess, bringing nature and environment back to conservation, and how humans are changing it, or how we can improve it, and the changes we can make, be it small or big, and what we can do to basically make for a more cooperative, coherent environment, instead of a situation where humans and people kind of just taking and not giving back, and not making it symbiotic. It's just very much what we want, what we desire, at the expense of nature and animals and the environment.
Nice. Let's talk a bit about the work that you do, and kind of where you started out in your career and where you are now, and also just a day in the life of me as a civil and environmental engineer. Yeah.
God. Day in the life. A lot of spreadsheets.
For us all.
So I work at Ngeni, and I'm in the closure and remediation team. It's lovely, Mercy. And I actually going into, that was my first time working in, I think, mine closure properly, and I like the diversity it presents. In any day I could be helping with the remediation and rehabilitation of a mine site, tailing storage facility, waste rock dump, or just looking at erosion and sediment controls. But then you've also got the remediation and closure of other sites. So it could be a landfill, or just a site which is a contaminated land site, or even abandoned mines that are now operated or managed by the government that need bettering, essentially. It's not necessarily make this perfect, it's just improve it, because it might have been polluting for the last century. There's not much you can do about that. It's how you can make it less polluted, or less contaminating. But I actually started in a space which took me 6 months to be able to explain what my job was. And that was in the geo-environmental team, which again, people are what does that even mean?
What is that?
I think it's a mix between geotech an environment, but basically the primary role that we had was to design containment systems. So that could be landfills, so the base cell or the cap, or it could be ash dams for power plants, or evaporation ponds for gas works. Pretty much anything that involved containing waste, be it highly saline water or landfill waste, just anything that was considered waste that needed containing so it didn't leach into the environment. And that was lots of work with geosynthetics, which I hadn't really known before I started, and that was back with Golda in 2021. And learning all about geosynthetics and different applications and how much innovation is in the industry at the moment, and particularly around waste management, I found really interesting, and it kind of opened my eyes around, I guess, all these things that I think in general people kind of just don't think about. Like, they don't think about landfills, they don't think about waste and like what you do with it, where it ends up, how you stop it from affecting the environment around it. And that's bled into the closure remediation team at Jenny, which I'm thankful for, because I still want to be a part of that sort of waste management sector and the growing innovation, I guess, creativity that's happening in that industry. And doing that work can also involve like looking at basically all the design aspects of the containment system, and this can also include like tailing storage facilities, which are seen as waste management. So looking at the stability of the facility, what's the appropriate lining system to contain the waste at the bottom and the top if it needs one. What's the end purpose for that facility? Like, what are we aiming to, like, you've got to look at the management procedure, like operations, and then what happens after you close it. Like, is it going to be a sporting field? Is it going to be cattle grazing? Is it going to be possibly like a solar farm? Like, how is it going to be used? And it's that whole process is from the start of maybe designing that facility, and then how do you close it, and what's its post-closure use.
You mentioned tailing storage facilities and landfills and waste rock dams. For someone that is not in the closure space, explain a bit about what those things are.
Yeah, so with mining, I think the most basic way, you mine, like let's say you're mining gold, and you have basically the actual gold that you process and that you sell, and then you have the sort of waste product of the processing facility, and that's the tailings. And then you also have all that rock and soil material that is essentially viewed as worthless, or like, well, worthless compared to the gold itself. That's the waste rock. And so you'll dig out the waste rock to get to the gold, and you'll have to put it somewhere. So you basically stockpile that, and then you have to, so that's called a waste rock dump, essentially. It's just a big landform of waste rock. And that can be sort of less risk contaminating or high risk, and how you manage that is very much dependent on, I guess, its potential to create contaminants through like rain coming in and flushing out. And then with the tailings, it goes through that processing stage. And so it's usually for be it coal or gold or like iron ore, the tailings is usually like quite toxic in terms of all the like heavy metals it can contain, all the contaminants, and so you need to be able to put that somewhere as well. And that's where the tailing storage facility comes in, is essentially create or use existing landscapes. So if you've got like a natural pit or a hole, like you can turn that into a tailings storage facility and basically again like contain it and store it and prevent it from getting out to the environment as much as you can, depending on like its contents and like how high risk or low risk it is. And then with a landfill is just pretty much like a waste storage facility. Typically you would associate it with general waste, so like that's the things that you put in your red or green littered bin. But it can also just be like the large items that just go to general waste. So it literally can have everything and anything. Like you can have a fridge in there, you can have tires, you can have literally any sort of waste you can think of can go into a general waste facility pretty much. And because of that, we call it like leachate, but like it's essentially bin juice. All the water that all the liquids that result as degradation or like water getting into the waste it can have everything. It can have all these heavy metals, it can have PFAS, it can have basically all these toxic things that you don't want to get out to the environment. And so, yeah, you need to be able to contain it. Again, like tailings storage facilities, and it's all about trying to contain it and limit the risk and limit the impact. So that's what sort of a lot of the assets or facilities that we look at with closure and remediation.
You mentioned PFAS.
Oh God, I do not know I should know the full one.
I don't know. I also don't know what the full thingy is, but maybe we'll look it up and put it in the video. But you can like just also explain what that is and how bad that can get.
I know it starts off with like polyfluoro. I want to say alkyl something, but essentially it's like a forever chemical or like compound, so it doesn't degrade. Like I think pretty much everyone has it in them, from like basically getting it into water or food or like skin absorbing products. Like it's everywhere, but the predominant sort of known uses are like firefighting foam and those sorts of fire suppressants. So it's big in those kind of products. I think there's a few other, there's quite a lot of uses of it, because when it was discovered, they were like, oh, it's got all these amazing properties like non-stick pans and like fire retardants, or just like all these uses. And so people went mad and used it for everything. And then, it probably took about, I'd say maybe even like 20 years, and they're like, oh, it doesn't break down.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got all these kind of impacts that we never really thought through and thought of. So it's more a matter of like managing that as much as you can or as best as you can, and limiting, I guess it's spread to the environment and spread to people. Like there's quite a few, there's like a group of these compounds, and they're basically forever chemicals that don't break down, or by the time they break down it's like centuries and centuries, so we'll all be gone by the time they maybe start breaking down. It's a bit of a buzzword at the moment for contaminants.
Obviously, like I've had you speak so passionately about the kind of work that you do, like even at work, and like even now, obviously. And earlier on you mentioned that one of the things that you like about the work is like the innovation and creativity that's in the space, especially waste management. Talk to me a bit more about what that kind of innovation and creativity looks like.
So it can be a variety of things. It's basically what I like is sort of stepping outside the box of this is the way we've always done it, So if it's not broken, why fix it?
Yeah.
And kind of thinking, well, how can we make those changes so that perhaps it might be saving a little bit of money or saving space. I think space is a really big thing. So looking at, instead of having maybe a really spread out landfill, because it's maybe a little bit more stable, because you've got maybe like it's not as high, or the slopes can be more gentle. We're going, well, we don't have that kind of space anymore. If you think about like an urban landfill, you're usually pretty restricted in the space that you can put the waste. And so you go, okay, what kind of things do we need to be able to make a stable landform that won't erode, that won't slip, that won't have breaches of the waste into the open environment. And so you can look at different things to basically, if you've got really steep slopes, to hold them in place. And one of them is reinforcing geotextile or geogrid, and that basically locks in the soil on top as part of your cap. And so you can have like certain levels, I guess, of reinforcement, so certain strengths. And if you've got really steep slopes, to be able to kind of hold that soil in place, you need to have a high strength reinforcement to stop it from slipping. So there's been lots of innovation with that. We've also seen, I can't remember where it is, I feel like it might be somewhere in Australia, possibly New South Wales, but essentially having, instead of a slope, they had a wall, and they used different geosynthetics in that wall to be able to hold the waste in place, again, because they were limited by space, and also I think they were on a hill or something that they had that risk of, if it failed, there was all these like residential properties downhill, and that could be quite catastrophic for the environment, but also like contaminating possibly like water sources or things like that, or even waste getting into those residences if it sort of flowed far enough. So a lot of the time it's basically like, how can we improve the performance? How can we improve the lifetime? Because some of these things are only, they might have a design life of like 10 years, 5 years, and you go, okay, well, how can we make that longer? Like, is it being exposed to the sun? What can we do to make it last longer when it's exposed to the sun and UV damage? What kind of things, like products, can we use, or like how can we use them to make it last longer and contain the waste, or make it more resistant to maybe damage, like if you're having particularly large things being put on top of that geosynthetic liner product, how can we, like, do we need something to cushion it so it can kind of handle the damage, and the actual impermeable, because we say impermeable with big quotes because nothing's 100% impermeable, how can we make that last longer by protecting it? And it's just all these different sort of uses and applications and thoughts around making it better. They can also be making it greener, like, are we trying to use recycled products? Are we trying to use things that, because they will last longer, like you're not having to deal with replacing it maybe every 20 years, or like little steps towards a more sustainable approach, as opposed to an approach that it might be cheap now, but when you look at the whole lifetime, you might have to replace it. So it's about quality over sort of cost, and thinking about, well, yes, it's cheap, but if you have any issues, that's costly. If you have any damage, you've got to replace it. And also, like, if it doesn't perform as well, then you've wasted all that money and time constructing a system that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so you have to do it all again. My experience is nothing that contractors hate more than the word rework.
Yeah.
They hate it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now we're just going into the 5 fun wrap-up questions. What's a common engineering myth or stereotype that you'd love to debunk?
I think a common myth is that, I mean, it is kind of common for a reason, but that we have no people skills, that we just are these like geeky, nerdy people who like live on their computer and like don't get out or anything.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of like that.
But then, I mean, I had that stereotype of an engineer like growing up. I was kind of like, I just literally imagined like a guy with glasses behind a computer, just like, I don't know, doing engineering, probably like electrical, mechanical things, because that's all I sort of thought was engineering. But like engineers can party. That's something I've just used to it, is that they're like very much can be the work hard, play hard, get out there, have fun, like being sporty. I think, that label does get put on us of basically being a super introvert, like with no people skills or social skills whatsoever. And it's just not true. Like, yes, you get the super technical people, but I think you get that in pretty much any field. And I think we're a lot more diverse and I guess can have like big personalities and things than what people sort of think or stereotype us as. And it's actually really fun to sort of meet new people and meet all these like variety of people who are engineers and kind of go like, like, just get those different perspectives and all that sort of colour and like diversity is really fun.
What's a skill or hobby that you have that most people wouldn't expect?
I wouldn't say it's like a skill, and it's something that I want to pick up again. Is like sort of martial arts / self-defense. I think they see me and think I don't know, like kind of like a little, very unassuming woman. But I did Krav Maga, which is like the Israeli sort of martial arts, I guess, style, which is literally anything goes. Like there's no rules, there's no nothing. It's you fight for your life and whatever you've got, and you use this. Like they can be as dirty tactics as possible. In fact, most of the maneuvers involved around like the sensitive, vulnerable points. And I really do want to get that started again because I just feel like it was interesting, but also I think it gave me a little bit of confidence that I could assess and possibly handle myself in a scenario if it did go wrong. And I also enjoy just like meeting the different people because like sometimes I know you think of any martial arts and you just think of like big, buff, very intimidating people, particularly guys, but there was quite a few like young women or like other people who you look at and just like you would not think that they probably could absolutely destroy you given the chance. And I just found that really interesting, and it was a really nice community as well. But I think a lot of people not expect that maybe I do know how to throw a punch. Probably not well. I'm very much not a fighter, but like I like learning the techniques and the maneuvers. So just just in case.
All in all, don't mess with me.
Oh no. I'm more likely to run away than anything. In fact, they teach you that. But to be fair, I wouldn't go very far because endurance not my thing. Sprinting, yes.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, that's a hard one. Best piece of advice. Honestly, just like, I mean, it's not really, it's advice I've had from like a couple of people, but just, well, it's a bit of a known one, but like you'd rather regret trying it and having like failed or maybe not enjoy something than like never doing it in the first place. I think, like, and sometimes I've lived by that. I've just been like, stuff it, I'll give it a go, or like I'll do that thing and I might be uncomfortable, but yeah, I'd rather have like tried it and gone, wasn't my thing, as opposed to always wondering what it would have been like or what I've liked or something. That can be through work or even like adrenaline sort of junky things. I was kind of like, originally I was like, oh, you know, all that stuff seems really scary, and then I tried the first sort of, I know, big thing, and now I'm like, yeah, I want to do more. Like, this is me. Yeah, just giving something a crack and yeah, having a go.
Go to snap or drink during a long walk sesh?
I'm a chocolate fiend. Oh yeah. Everyone knows it. It's like iconically me. Like, I've had people literally ask me, they're just like, do you always have chocolate on you? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, good to know.
Very much see me snacking it like all the time.
Yeah.
It's like any chocolate, but I do love like Tim Tams, frothed Tim Tam.
I don't get the fuss.
I don't know. You gotta have the double coated one because that's like extra chocolatey.
Okay.
Like, that's the best. Anyone who argues, they're wrong. Or if it just like, my all-time favorite, and I'm so glad they brought it back, was the marble, like Capri marble. When they got rid of it, I was devastated, and they brought it back. And I was like, it's so good. But I only get it at half price.
So.
It's too expensive full price. Like, I'm not paying $8 for that.
Yeah. And finally, recent book or TV show you've enjoyed?
I need to finish the rest of it, but I started watching Queen's Gambit. It's on Netflix.
Really good.
Yeah,
absolutely recommend.
I need to get Netflix just to finish it off, because I started watching it when I was in New Zealand only a few weeks ago at my aunt and uncle's place, and I was hooked. I was like, oh my god, it's midnight, I need to go to bed. I just found it so fascinating, particularly the concept of like a young girl or woman in a male-dominated life that basically like scoffed at her for even being like, oh, I can play chess. They're like, oh, you're a girl, like you can't do that. And even though it's fictional, like I can 100% believe like that kind of stuff happened with like any sport or anything where it was male-dominated, and a woman came in and said, I want to do it, I can do it, and they just were basically laughed at. And I also find it interesting to sort of follow, I guess, like the battle with addiction and like how it came to be with her through an orphanage, and that if she didn't go to the orphanage, like, the life would have been completely different. I don't know, it just seems super interesting. I'm here to finish it off.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come here. I absolutely appreciate it. Very honored to have you. Any final words?
Well, thank you very much for the invite. I felt pretty like chuffed because I was like, I'm only 5 years out of uni to get an invite for a podcast. So I was like, final words, I guess, is just like, I guess to say anything is have fun, enjoy your life, at work, whatever, and just sort of, I mean, it's a bit cliche, but you only live once, and
that's true.
And do what you want, obviously within reason. And have a solid crack and see where it lands.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.